Well, hello and welcome to this edition of our Limitless Live with Limitless Minds. Super excited to be here with you all today and to be taking on this fun topic with one of my favorites, fellow room tilter and elite performance mindset coach, who's also had her own illustrious career as a soccer player, football to be exact. Um, I cannot wait for you to hear from Miss Ellie Nelson. Welcome, Ellie.
Hi, Karla. Hello, hello. Good morning or good afternoon. Love that you said football.
Got to show respect, right? My husband grew up in Nigeria playing football, and so this has been a debate in our, not really a debate, just an ongoing reminder in our home for the last almost 11 years. So yeah, I'll
I
show respect for the footballers out there.
love it. I appreciate it. I've lived in England long enough that it feels very weird to call it soccer. So yeah, but should we start? Should we start off first of all? Hi to everybody who's joining in. Thank you for joining in with us. Definitely say hello in the chat. But I feel like we should start with some gratitudes because I've not done that in a while, and I could use some gratitudes.
Oh,
Do
I
you
love how you set our intentions at the beginning of these sessions. I love that so much. And, in the vein of Thriving Thursday, right? We have to dig in on those practices that help support our big thrive. And some folks call this Thankful Thursday. So
have-
it's a great place to ground ourselves in gratitude.
Yeah.
So, what are three things that you're thankful for right now?
Three things I am thankful for. I am thankful for, I'm going to say, access to clean water. I've been trying to focus on my water more recently because I noticed I've been traveling a lot recently and I think I've neglected my water. And also, it's put into perspective that not everybody has as much access to clean water as I do. And I am
Mhm.
really grateful for that. So, that is one. I will say my second one is I live near a shopping mall. And so I have, anything that I need or want. I mean, it's got grocery stores and things like that as well. So I have a lot of access to anything I need nearby. And then thirdly, I will say I am grateful for um, I'm going to say I'm grateful for phones because, traveling and living overseas, I get access to my family anytime I want or need. So I'm really grateful for that.
Love that. And hello, Debbie, joining us from Dallas, Texas. Love it. Welcome into the room.
Okay,
Beautiful.
Karla, I got to hear from you though. Tell me what you're grateful for today.
Three things I'm grateful for right now. I am grateful for time with friends, being present here in Maryland with a group of people that I've known and really grown up in adulthood with for the last 18 years. So that's incredible. I'm grateful for um, networks that are like family, where people take care of one another truly as volunteers. They're choosing every day to take care of one another in a sort of web and network that catches people when they fall or for all their different needs and challenges. It's
Yeah.
super heartwarming. Um, and finally, I'm grateful for the sweet voice of my 2.5-year-old and her ability to express herself, her desire to express herself, and the big effort she puts in. So this morning, it was love you too, mom. Like, that just tickled me so. That was like 4 hours ago, and I'm still kind of stuck with the goofy smile on my face about it.
I love that. It's the people that make a difference. You
Mhm.
mentioned, I mean, your children, but then also having a web of people, a community of support of people who want to support each other. And I
Mhm.
think that, I mean, that is the difference that makes a difference. But that segues so we didn't plan this, but that segues so well into the topic that we have today. We're kind of carrying on from Joanna and Travis yesterday. They were talking about the World Cup and the loss that the US experienced in the round of 16. This was the earliest, the quickest that the US has lost in any World Cup. And so this was a big pain point for us. For those that support the US, we've dominated for a very, very long time, and usually either came first or second. So it was a tough loss for us. If anybody follows the World Cup, so that's what they talked about yesterday, was dealing with defeat, managing defeat. But today, Karla and I are taking a little bit different perspective, because although the US didn't take it as far as we had hoped, we're seeing some trends happen. We're talking specifically about the World Cup today, but this relates to a lot of walks and aspects of life, and that is the underdog mentality. So if we look at the World Cup, Canada lost before the round of 16. They've won the World Cup. They usually qualify, get into the semifinals. England almost lost to Nigeria recently. They actually should have, if you watch the game. They didn't put up the best fight, but they won in a penalty shootout at the end. And then the U.S. lost quite early on. So a lot of these big hitters that are used to dominating the game, we're not seeing them get as far. But we're actually seeing countries like Jamaica, who got as far as they've ever gotten in the tournament with no funding and no support from their country.
Mm.
We saw Nigeria absolutely smash it. We have seen countless other small countries, Republic of Ireland as well, taking it further than they ever have before and showing something that we have not often seen or seen a lot of recently. And that is this underdog mentality that's persevering and pushing through.
Hmm.
Though the US, hasn't taken the win, I think we're seeing some different kinds of wins. And
Mm.
I'm kind of excited about it. So that
Wow. When you said smash it, I almost heard your new English accent come out. Right.
it pokes out every now and again. It's not too much. Yeah. Well, alive a year. If we're on Alive a year from now, I'm sure I'll be like full British accent. Ted
But
Lasso.
I just love this topic. I'm not gonna lie, it's
Yeah.
bittersweet, right? It's bittersweet to come on live with a largely US audience and talk about or rehash a loss,
Yeah.
right? A very public and prominent loss. The headlines early on were about, you know, this three-time sweep that the
Mhm.
team was going for. And
Mhm.
now we've got to process the loss. But I am also grateful for, frankly, the Limitless Mind team, where we're willing to take it on. We're willing to circle back and sort of honestly own up and face up, right,
Yeah.
to what's happening instead of kind of brushing it under the rug and just moving on to the next story. You
Right.
know, the team took a loss, and how do you deal with that? And then
Yeah.
how do you account for the underdog mentality and how that can really fuel people forward
Mhm.
to win.
Mhm.
And when I think about it, trying to apply that in our own personal everyday lives, is it possible that the underdog mentality is fueling your thrive,
Mm.
right? Fueling your ability to be in thrive mode, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Absolutely. And notice, for those of you who are listening in, notice that we're not saying being the underdog. You don't need to be the underdog to have the underdog mentality. And I think about like businesses and corporations. Like you might be doing really, really well in your field. So you might not feel like the underdog. Or as an individual in your workspace, you might not feel like the underdog. That doesn't mean you don't need to have the underdog mentality. And so, specifically in this case, we're looking at these countries that are coming through that are under resourced, underdeveloped, underfunded. They have incredible team chemistry, and they've got this underdog mentality that served them really well and contributed to their own personal success, getting further than they ever have before and doing something different than their teams have ever done before. And so we're looking at that and dissecting that a little bit to say, hey, something's working here.
Mhm.
we take and apply to our own life. So it doesn't mean that you need to be the underdog, but there's a type of mentality that's thriving. It is absolutely thriving. It is new and developed in this day and age. So, what can we take from that and bring into our own lives to be as successful as we can be and reach our full?
Mhm.
And
So
so, yeah.
let's define the underdog mentality for folks, right? Because we've talked about it in the context of these teams that are underfunded, smaller, don't necessarily have the same record to defend. But how would you define and describe the underdog mentality?
So, the way that I think about it, I've really like looked into some of these teams and broken them down into different elements that I see there. So maybe if I start with the elements, I think that'll bring together a definition that we can kind of make our own here.
Love it.
I don't want to discredit any of the elements by trying to define it. So can we look at a couple different pieces of it?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do it. So the first one I would say is grit. And when I say grit, I'm thinking about passion and I'm thinking about perseverance and this unwavering belief in myself, in my team, in my product, in my service. It's an unwavering belief along with passion and perseverance. So that is the first. That's the way that I think about grit, and this is what I'm seeing in actions, not just the results, but actually how people are interacting, how they're carrying themselves, both on and off the field. And I think there's a lot we can take from that into our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
one of my
So,
oh, go ahead.
no, I heard unwavering belief in oneself.
Yeah.
Unwavering belief in oneself and their ability to win the game. It makes me think about the risk of focusing on the competition
Mm-hmm.
versus that internal drive,
Yeah.
right? Because it seems like grit is the grit that keeps on giving, right? It literally is an endless well if it's about an unwavering belief in oneself.
Yeah.
If it's about comparing yourself to others or competing with the person next to you, right? Then you're always only going to be a couple steps ahead of them
Mm-hmm.
or only motivated to achieve as far as they are able to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
But this unwavering belief in oneself has nothing to do with who else is on the field.
Completely. And that is actually what I think it's Republic of Ireland that I mentioned. Their kind of motto for this World Cup was outbelieve,
Mm,
outbelieve. And so if you watch any of the commercials, you can look them up on YouTube. They talk about outbelieve stereotypes, outbelieve the past, outbelieve others' expectations of ourselves or of us. And then they talk about outbelieve our opponents. So, really, outbelieve means we're not just putting our focus on our opponents, we're outbelieving because it comes from within us,
mhm,
from our
mhm.
process. We are going to outbelieve. And I think that is, I love, as soon as I saw that, I was like, outbelieve.
Whew,
Absolutely. Because
wow.
it means that our focus is going on us. It starts with
Mhm,
us, it starts within us. So the question I would ask back to anybody who's listening to this is what does it mean to believe in yourself? What does it mean to believe in yourself? Because if we don't know, and I think it ties to our values, I think it ties to what we believe we are worthy of. If we can really explore that within ourselves, we can take ourselves further than we ever thought we could.
mhm,
But that's
mhm.
because we're so focused on ourself and our process instead of how I compare to that person next to me. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about.
Outbelieve. Hashtag outbelieve. Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah.
So you have scientifically dissected these teams and extracted these thrive principles for us, right? The thrive principles that make up this underdog mentality. And the first one was grit. I love
First,
it. Unwavering belief in oneself. Wow.
absolutely.
All right.
Number
What do you,
two.
Yes.
So similar to what you were just talking about. And this is the way, like, our relationship with pressure and expectation. So, with the underdog mentality, your expectations are set by you. They're not set by the pressure of what past success has been, because maybe you've never experienced your idea of success. You've always been living in the shadows. So the pressure and expectation is coming from you. It's set by you. It's a standard that you create for yourself, where you might not have other people putting things on you, or even if you do, you're not worried about it because it's so much about you. So in that case, you are aligned to your values and your purpose, and you can blaze your own trail. And so the reason why this is effective is because if we think about going back to the World Cup, if we think about the US, they have been under a lot of pressure and a lot of expectation for a long time because they have always dominated. Now, that weight or that pressure and that expectation can feel quite heavy sometimes. It can feel like a lot to be able to manage that, because you know that if you don't get to a certain place in the World Cup, in the tournament, in any tournament for that matter, people are going to be disappointed. And you're going to have a lot of fans giving you a hard time because they expect you to pretty much win every single time. That's a lot. That's a lot. So there's pressure to get another title constantly. The other part is that if we think about the US national team, they have dominated in the past. And part of the reason why is because they've been so athletic, fast, and strong and agile. Other countries didn't have as many women playing sports because it wasn't widely accepted. That's changed now. We have a lot more women in other countries, hallelujah, who are playing sports. And so we have more athletic women coming out, and they're competing. They're just as fit, just as strong, just as fast as the US, but this
Mhm.
time they're more technical and they're more tactical. And the US has had athleticism work for so long that they keep going for it and going for it, thinking that's enough. So when you
Mhm.
experience success over and over, you start to think, well, if we just do it how we've always done it, we're going to experience success again.
Mm.
The underdog mentality is, you know what? We've got nothing to lose. Let's blaze our own trail. That is huge.
Wow. Yes.
Doesn't always work in your favor, but what do you have to lose when you're the underdog?
Right. Let's blaze our own trail. And welcome from Ohio, Afiwa. Great to see you. Um, let's blaze our own trail, setting our own expectations. Wow. Whew. When I think about this concept of the weight of expectation, um, it can be really challenging when someone is trying to thrive. Honestly, when they're trying to um, live their best life, as we like to say, break out of the box, um, achieve something that maybe no one in their family has ever achieved, no one expected for them. But there's a ton of expectation on them. They've been top of their class, straight A's. They've gotten all the degrees. They've gotten the best jobs. They've done all the right things. What I
Yeah.
like to call box checking, which of course I borrowed from Michelle Obama, right? Because of all of that, there's this weight of expectation on them to perform in a certain way. And that weight both causes exhaustion, anxiety, sometimes depression, right? But it can also cause them to play small
Yeah.
because the expectation of the box checker, right, is that they'll check the next box that everyone thinks is the ultimate box, right?
Mhm.
It's smaller than that person's dreams, smaller than their hopes, smaller than what's tugging at their little heartstrings,
Mhm.
right? But it is the expected, from everyone else. And that can be an extraordinary weight on someone
Mhm.
that really caps out their ability to fully thrive to optimize their existence and optimize their skills and talents. So underdog mentality, it does feel like some of those folks who haven't necessarily been checking the boxes their entire life
Right.
are freer to
Mm-hmm.
achieve bigger and better things because no one expected them to do much in the first place. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've noticed that. I was recently reflecting on that. Just in my personal life, it does feel like um, I'm expected to perform to expectations, and others are free to thrive. You know, and they do it big. You
Hmm.
know, so anyway, just thinking about your point too, and expectation becoming the box of limitations.
Expectations becoming the box of limitations. Quote that. Yes. Oh, it's so true though. And if I think about the times where I've felt the weight of expectation,
Mhm,
it's I I think of probably what society expects, which a lot of us experience. Oh, I'm expected to buy a house instead of renting, or I'm expected to now go to college. I'm expected to take this job. It's got a higher salary. I should go here. I should do that. Um,
mhm,
and so when the weight of expectations is heavy, it makes decisions feel cloudy. We've got less clarity in those, or sometimes we make decisions that aren't aligned with our values, because we think that we should. We think that it's the thing to do. And so for all of us, I think it's the awareness of, okay, what are the expectations that I feel that aren't coming from me? If
mhm,
I have expectations that are coming from me that I want for myself, that's one thing. But if I am allowing the expectations of others, of society, of whatever, whoever that might be, infiltrate me, and it's in a negative way, but I'm not aware of it, I'm running into, I was going to say hot water. I don't know if that's a
no, it's great. It's great. Hot water's great. It still
funny.
works.
You know what I mean? It starts with the awareness of what are the expectations, and how do you then manage those? What would you
Yeah,
like to do with that information?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think I've always been somebody who takes quite a bit of risk, compared to most people in my family or the people that I'm around. It's something that my partner says a lot. He's like, you're very comfortable taking risk, and it makes me very nervous sometimes. I do. I feel like I'll take calculated risk, but the thing is, and this is where I put things back on myself, is I'm okay with taking that risk because it means that I'm betting on myself. And I feel
Mhm,
confident betting on myself because I feel secure about who I am and what I'm capable of. And I trust that if it's meant for me and I go all in, it'll work out. But if it's not meant for me, I know it's going to be okay. And I'm privileged enough. Let me recognize my privilege. I live in a first world country, and I know that if I went bankrupt tomorrow, my family would take me and take care of me. So maybe it's not as much of a risk as for some. Um,
mhm,
but I think I've always had this. It's that unwavering belief of I'll bet on myself because
mm,
I know me and I trust me. And I think that's what we've seen in these teams is our country might not even believe in us, but guess what? We believe in ourselves, and we're going to outbelieve any stereotype, anything that anyone says I'm not.
mm. Gosh, that's incredible. I want to make sure I don't miss any points that you have on this profile of the underdog mentality. But I have some thoughts about what you just said. Do you want to dive into? I want to make
I
sure.
want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts.
No, it's when you talked about, so you return to the grit concept of unwavering belief in oneself, and then I was imagining the expectations concept, standing on the field, having the weight of expectations on you, and you're focused outwardly on what everyone is expecting, you often will suppress your internal instinct, your
Mm,
internal drive, right? Which
yeah.
makes you a lot less capable of performing in this high stakes situation. You
Hmm.
know, it just made me think about I'm seeing the lights, I'm seeing the jersey, I'm seeing my uncoordinated self out there, right? And people are expecting me to make the play, right?
Yeah.
And so many times you could put me at my desk and I would still have many of these same feelings when the orientation is towards the external expectations that others have put on you. Oftentimes you keep your focus there.
Right.
Sometimes it looks like people pleasing, right? Um, Sometimes it looks like just deferring to their beliefs, their values, their good ideas, right? But as you spend your time focusing externally on those expectations, you often suppress your internal instincts, your gut, your values, which would be the things that you would need to call upon to be great in this
Absolutely.
moment in particular, in this high performance, high stakes moment where you need to bring all of you to the field, right? Maybe you suppress those instincts. Maybe you haven't invested in them enough because you've been so outwardly and other oriented, you know?
Absolutely. It's it's like in that case, are you the thing that's holding you back the
Yeah,
most?
yeah,
By picturing that as others' expectations that you're then allowing to just. So I think
absolutely.
when all of us have our different ways of performing, if it's trying to hit my quota, hit my calls, hit my sales, then it's not that we might feel a bit of pressure on that, especially if we have targets. It's not that, oh, I feel pressure, that must be a bad thing. It's coming from the outside, not from me.
Mhm,
That's not the case. But when we think about performing, it's, am I so focused on the way I'm perceiving the pressure because I'm allowing
mhm,
it to be fully external? Or can I, you know, twist that or reframe that to, we say it all the time, comes from, Russell Wilson, pressure is a privilege. Pressure is a privilege. What an opportunity. It means you care. It means you're ready. It means it's something worth fighting for and working for. So it's that scarcity versus abundance mindset. We're not trying to get rid of the pressure, but it's about, how are you viewing it? Is it, oh, well, what if I fall? What if I fall? What if I don't meet it? Or what if I fly? What if I
mm,
fly? What if it works out? And really, I can't remember whose quote this was, so if you know it, Karla, let me know. But a successful person never loses; they either win or learn. And I
oh, that's
think that
good.
is the underdog mentality of, if I lose, guess what? It was already kind of expected, but I'm human. I'm
Yeah.
human, and if I learn from it, I didn't lose.
Mhm.
I I grew. I actually gained in character and in value and in experience.
I
And
love
that's the
that.
mentality.
That reminds me of Simon Sinek's difference between the finite game and the infinite game.
Mm,
The finite game has a set number of players, a set number of rules, a set time horizon, right? And so you're constantly competing with others. In the infinite game, there are new rules every day, new players added every day, and the idea of the game is to just stay in the game, just
mm,
keep going, right? Versus the score or the goal, right? In the infinite game, you stay in the game and you keep going. And I think that is a beautiful marriage with the underdog mentality as you've laid it out, with that grit and those expectations that come from inside of you and not from others. Ellie,
absolutely.
it is always a privilege, and today has been beyond a privilege. My chest is all full, it's like this is
Like,
just incredible. So thank you so much for inspiring this topic, for leading us so beautifully through it. And thank you to everyone who's joined us here live. If you catch the replay, definitely drop a hashtag replay. And our colleagues will be here tomorrow because we're here at the same time every day, 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern, for our Limitless Lives. And finally, make sure you check out that Club Limitless app, which is a dynamic tool full of incredible room tilters like Ellie, who are breaking it down for your high performance mindset every single day. And thank you guys again.
absolutely. Thank you. And tomorrow, I think there's a special guest tomorrow.
Oh,
So
nice.
Rob Rob Delp from Annika. He's going to be on with DJ, so you do not want to miss that one. Yeah, I'm going to be there, so definitely make it on if you can. Watch the replay if you can't. But Karla, it's always a pleasure, and I adore you. And likewise, cup is full. Thank you. Have an
Thank
amazing
you.
day. Keep thriving, everyone.
Bye.